We are into fight week. This feels like a lifetime we've waited for this fight, doesn't it?
Just waiting for it to be rescheduled 3 times has been enough, but yeah, mate. 25 years since we had an undisputed heavyweight champion. Christmas has come for boxing fans. Can't wait, man.
We're going to get all of the answers to all of our questions. Can Tyson Fury roll back the years, or is Oleksandr Usyk going to put a serious claim to being the pound-for-pound #1 fighter on the planet?
He would be, wouldn't he?
I think he would be.
Bro, if you beat Tyson Fury and he's 40 or 50 pounds heavier than you, that's the definition of what... He's a fifth of the body weight on top of you. That's mental.
Yeah, I think that... Look, to solidify it, I would like to see more heavyweight names on his resume. If he was to beat Tyson Fury, I'd like to see a few more of the contenders. But I think it'd take a brave man to bet against Oleksandr Usyk being the pound-for-pound #1 if he was to do it. Let's speak about fight week so far. Obviously, chaos.
Just the John Fury show, innit, again.
What did you make of it?
I mean, were you with me at the time, right?
Yeah.
When it happened, we were just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it was a bit of, because for John, right, he's always loud and shouty, but a lot of the time, it's all like, hot air, he's shouting, he's pointing at Deontay Wilder, or it misfits, he might be a bit more physical with it and kick the tables. But to nut a man, and the strange thing is the guy he was in my personal space. No, he wasn't. He was actually just cheering Usyk, and you walked past him and then just stuck it on him. And it did feel like he saw an opportunity against a smaller guy, not for the first time. We've seen the way he went on with Frampton, and I was just disappointed because I felt sorry for the other dude, really.
I felt really sorry for him.
Yeah. He handled it well, though.
Yeah.
Just took it like, no.
He firmed it.
And by the way, he didn't have a real cut. It was John who had the cut.
Look, we saw multiple different angles of it. And the funny thing is, I read the headline before I watched the video. And when I read the headline that John Fury had headbutted someone, the first video I clicked on, John Fury has got a guy probably similar dimensions from the footage I saw. Yeah. Big lad, head to head with him. And at that point, I'm not condoning it, but fucking hell, for the amount of you that watch Misfits, you're pretty thinking he's a fine one to talk about getting aggressive at the boxing. But I'm not condoning it. But if John Fury had have headbutted that guy, who was up in his face and whatever, I wouldn't have been surprised by it. Let's say that.
It's a fair matchup then.
The footage we saw, you said this guy was cheering on Usyk. Yeah, he was Team Usyk. He was there in support of him. In the bit of footage I saw, he wasn't even fucking cheering him on. It was just like walking through, John Fury shouts at it, the bloke turns around and John Fury nuts him. So not a great start to fight week for me.
Tyson Fury's reaction when he comes out the room. Dad, what are you doing? Like, if I'm preparing for the biggest fight of my life, which is not even up for debate, one of the hardest fights you'll ever have, right, depending on how it goes, you don't want to be like having frights like that on fight week and wondering what you done. Like, you want to be focused on one thing and one thing only. And as much as Big John, wants the best for his son, that's not helping him, is it? It's not helping Tyson.
I don't think so. I think it's... look, I've actually watched an interview of Tyson Fury today, and he speaks quite glowingly about the situation. He sort of says, yeah, in England we say chat shit, get banged and whatnot. And look, I can only assume that Tyson Fury's seen the footage myself. Look, I'm a Tyson Fury fan. For me, I thought it was... I'm going to put it how it is. I thought it was fucking bang out of order, mate. I didn't like to see that, especially in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as well. You've just rocked up there first day. Remember, like... And maybe this is just the way I think, but I'm always thinking about, okay, the people that are paying my wages, the reason I'm here, the amount of money I'm earning. I would just try and conduct myself in a way that I would imagine that, Turkey Al Sheikh and the guys over in Saudi would be happy with. But
look, when we watch the crowds in Saudi, it's a lot tamer than the UK atmosphere. The way people carry themselves is a bit different, right? So I think it's more about being respectful and stuff like that. That is a complete culture clash to the way John's going on right now. And even in England, it would be out of order. In England, he might have got locked up for that, actually. So I think they're playing it off like, oh, well, these things will happen in the hope that, like, all right, we all know that was out of order, but let's just make light of it and move the fuck on. But That was massively out of order. And John is lucky that he's not getting sent home on a plane after that.
Mate, I've seen and heard of even recently people being locked up in sort of Middle Eastern countries as well for things that I would be surprised to hear someone get arrested for over here. Let alone, do you know what I mean? So it's a funny one. My sort of main issue with it, and this is a bit snidey for me to say this, because the main issue should be someone unprovoked has been attacked, right? But my main thing with it as well is like from a fan's aspect, someone that is backing the Brit, wants the Brit to do well. What I don't want to do is turn public perception on Tyson Fury. PR-wise. Yeah, exactly.
If you're 50-50 now, you're hoping Usyk wins, aren't you?
Mate, you can't help but want to back the guy that conducts himself well. And again, the question you have to ask is, would you ever see that from Team Fury? From Team Usyk? I don't think you would.
Did you see the response from Usyk when you watched the video back?
Bad behaviour.
That is bad behaviour. I thought even the way Usyk is reacting to that ridiculous shit is classy.
Yeah.
He's just always class.
And do you know what as well? The thing that might have a little bit of silver lining if you were a Tyson Fury fan, you wanted Tyson Fury to win, is even that moment when Usyk was showed the clips, if he was rattled, if he really lost his shit over that, then you're thinking, maybe this could be a positive. Oleksandr Usyk is not going to get dragged into any of the mental warfare, in my opinion. Tyson Fury's interview that I watched earlier on, he said, I'm already in Usyk's head. I'm living in there rent-free. Wakes up every morning. He can't take a shit or a shower without thinking in. Yeah, but that's just sort of how boxing works. And when I look at how cool Oleksandr Usyk was, he was firm. He said, that's not acceptable behaviour. You shouldn't conduct yourself. He is big man. He is little man. And the way he said it was sort of perfectly put. He didn't need to go into too much detail. We understood the message there. I don't think any sort of mental warfare, any war of words, anything like that is going to matter now we're upon fight week. Would you disagree with that, or are you in the same boat as me?
Knowing, I've done a lot of research on Usyk on my channel when we did that life story video on him. My first thought was, I think Usyk is like a robot in there. He isn't a very emotional guy. But if there is I don't know how to put this, but if there's a chance to be ruthless and to do something, you're already going to try and take his head off, but I feel like you've just added that little bit of more fuel to the fire, and it's just not necessary. It's not what I would want. If I'm Tyson Fury, I don't want my dad giving that man more motivation. I want him just, do you know what I mean? But
in the first fight of Anthony Joshua, when Usyk in the 12th round has got Joshua on the ropes, bearing in mind, he knows that he has landslide won that fight at that point. He has Anthony Joshua on the ropes, right? Potentially, very possibly, just very, very tactical, why he didn't take Anthony Joshua out in that moment. Because if you remember the moment, Anthony Joshua very, very much looks there for the taking in that moment.
He was a matter of two or three shots away from being out, yeah.
After the chaos, if Oleksandr Usyk was to have Tyson Fury in that position, maybe small margins like that, maybe what John Fury did there in that situation could swing.
That's a great analysis, a great hypothetical situation to put it in. If you've got the chance to now take his head off, before you may have let him go out there on his shield and maybe get away with his consciousness intact, you're now going to go, nah, fuck off. You lot hit my guy. Now I'm going to do you.
Oleksandr Usyk has weighed in at pretty much identical weights for his last three fights. 2-1 is what you're normally seeing Oleksandr Usyk weigh in at. For the two Anthony Joshua fights and for the Daniel Dubois fight, that is what he was. The smart money would say he's not going to fluctuate much. And when you look at his career, although he's jumped up to heavyweight, he doesn't fluctuate much. Even in the Super Series as an amateur, he really didn't fluctuate that much. So I think we don't really have many question marks in terms of where Oleksandr Usyk is weight-wise and how he's going to come in, what sort of shape he's going to come in. But the question marks constantly, regardless of who Tyson Fury's fighting, do revolve around his weight, around his size and his shape. What do you think from what we've seen so far from Tyson Fury? Because we've seen a little bit of footage of him with his top off, and obviously, we've seen. I'm sure right now, if you shave the whole beard off, people are going to be going, Brian, have you lost weight? Do you know what I mean? So when Tyson Fury comes in clean cut shaven, we always go, he's in brilliant shape there. What do you think? What sort of weight, what sort of size are we going to see him at in this fight?
If I had to guess, I'd roughly say 265.
Yeah,
maybe 260 at the absolute minimum, but I'd be surprised if it was less than that. Like, because as a big lad, I know if you take a photo at a certain angle and you go like that and you make sure that your love handles, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, you look in amazing shape. But then when you see Fury turn to the side on another photo, you might have seen this one, where the love handles are really sticking out. You're like, oh, they're still there.
Yeah.
Like, and I really wish people would judge my body the way they judge Tyson Fury, because I've never seen someone carrying this much fat being, quote, shredded in my life. He's not shredded. He's just in better shape than he fucking usually is. I think he's definitely trained hard. That's one thing that I'm happy with, because I don't, as much as I want Usyk to win, I also don't want Usyk to beat like this worst version that we seen against Ngannou. I want people to go, well, he came in, he was in shape, he did everything good. Do you know what I mean? I want it to be the best versus the best is what this whole fight is about. So Fury should be in shape. It's the bare minimum to expect, but yeah, I think about 265. What do you reckon?
I'd say, yeah, 265, 264. That's what he's going to come in at for me, which is obviously an identical weight to the weight he weighed in for the Dillian White fight. Also, rolling back the years a little bit, the Del Boy rematch, Tyson Fury against Chisora too. So two very, very good performances.
What do you think that makes, though? Do you, like, in terms of the number? Do you think that's the balance? Because with Fury, it's always about balance. Yep. You're either too heavy and powerful, or too light and not powerful. That's the way Big John always puts it across.
Well, when you look back, right, he boxed Otto Wallin at 254 pounds. I remember John Fury in the BT Sports studio watching that fight live, and he was losing his shit over that. He said he was way too light, weak as a kitten, were his words. Bearing in mind, that is still about 10 pounds heavier than he boxed Klitschko at all those years ago. So I think that obviously, look, he's not going to come in that light. The weight that I'm looking at now, I'm thinking if it's 264, 265, that would be a weight as a fan who's back in the Brit, that would be a weight I'd be happy at seeing Tyson Fury at, because I think that version of Tyson Fury, you get maybe not the same mover that you got all those years ago against Klitschko and against Christian Hammer, that sort of run, but you get a Tyson Fury that can move. You know, we've seen from the shadow boxing, the footage that he's put up, that he's obviously looking a little bit lighter on his feet. And obviously when you go down this route of looking at the weights, right, I remember when Tyson Fury came back against Seferi, right, it was I don't know what it was.
Hilarious fight.
It was just a show, wasn't it? Really,
there
was absolutely nothing that we had any sort of. I don't know. We just didn't think there was any risk in that fight at all. And in Tyson Fury's performance, you looked and you thought, okay, good to see you back. That version, you don't beat no top heavyweights. He was 2 pounds heavier for the fight against Francis Ngannou. So I think that we can look at the performance against Francis Ngannou and say, okay, there's every possibility. Maybe you underestimated him. He was a lot better and a lot more capable than you thought on the night. Or there's that other side of it, is were you on the slip? Does the weight not really hold much significance and you were already on the slide? Well, this is where we find out the answer.
Well, I have a bit of an opinion of that. It's just like, I think that boxing technique is one thing, but attributes are another thing, right? And let's not kid ourselves. Like, these fighters are great boxers, of course they are, but their attributes are what enable them to do a lot of this stuff. And I just feel like Fury relies on his size, his strength, being the bigger man. And against Francis Ngannou, who we know isn't a great boxer, those attributes were nullified because Ngannou has those attributes and then some. Ngannou is stronger, for example, and just literally more muscle mass. So you can't bully him in the way you would bully other people. So it didn't work against him. And the worrying thing should be, in my opinion, is that the boxing skill, despite Francis Ngannou's strength, should have been the gulf that enabled him to play with Francis and get him out of there, or be far more dominant than he was, and it didn't. And that's where it's like, all right, you can get fitter, and you're not fighting Francis Ngannou, but the boxing skill, I'm actually unsure as to how good Tyson Fury is at the actual boxing skill bit, because he has such an advantage over so many guys he gets in the ring with physically that I'm yet to really understand, all right, where are you? I know you were better than Klitschko, but that was a whole different version of you, and that was a long time ago. Since then, he fought Deontay Wilder, who is a very limited boxer, but with a hell of a punch. So I get how you could beat him. But where the hell do you rank in boxing? And that's exactly what Usyk can expose, potentially.
When we're looking at the way Usyk's going to approach this fight, I think the general perception that we both have is it's going to be a case of win the first 3 rounds, win the last 3 rounds, use that engine in and out with your shots, scoring points. Is there any part of you that would be anything but shocked if Oleksandr Usyk just went in there for a shootout with Tyson Fury? Do you think that Oleksandr Usyk is going to be easier to prepare for because of the way that we feel like we know he's going to box? Whereas with Tyson Fury, there's always that chance that he might not do what we're expecting him to.
Yeah, the variables are all on side of Fury. We all are like, we know the weight, we know the style, we know everything about Usyk. The problem is it's a bit like a penalty taker who always puts it in the same corner and you can't stop him because he's just too good. Like, we just know what Usyk's going to do, but it's too good to stop usually. Potentially Fury may have the answers, but Fury's weight, size, his style, it's varied so much over the years. He is the X factor here. He's the one I don't know what's really coming from. But judging by the weight, I think he's going to mix it up. I don't think it's going to be a one-size-fits-all attitude. And I think kind of the way you box, actually, is like, I'll try and outbox you. If that doesn't work, I'm going in for the kill. And I think that's probably what we'll see, to be honest.
Under Sugar Hill so far, we have very much seen, I would say, one version of Tyson Fury. So we've seen the Tyson Fury that is able to go in there to brawl, to impose his physicality upon opponents. And obviously, you know, we heard from Tyson Fury himself, especially after the Wilder fights, that this is the hard-hitting Tyson Fury, right?
He hasn't fought on the back foot since meeting Sugar Hill, ever.
No,
to
he
my
hasn't.
knowledge. No, it was all with AJ's coach.
Yeah, Ben Davison and Pete
Yeah, he
Fury.
hasn't fought on the back foot once.
When we look at the sort of trainers that we've seen with Tyson Fury over his career, what one do you think would prepare Tyson Fury best for this fight against Usyk?
In my opinion, it's the Kronk gym. If it's possible to get Tyson Fury to beat Oleksandr Usyk, I think I look at Oleksandr Usyk like he has a special attribute in the movement. And the way to beat movement is to slow someone down by hurting them. And you can only hurt someone like that if you've got a massive amount of power. And I feel like that's what it's going to take. It's going to take some serious power punches to slow him down in the gut, in the chin. And you have to overwhelm him and actually be willing to go down swinging, actually. It's got to take like extreme belief and extreme action in order to do anything to Usyk.
I said to you last night, we were texting about this, and I said Dave Allen, who obviously Dave Allen, he's fought couple of top heavyweights. He fought Luis Ortiz, he's fought Dillian White, and he's more of a guy that has sparred with everyone. He sparred with Anthony Joshua, he sparred with Oleksandr Usyk, he sparred with Tyson Fury, and obviously his spar with Oleksandr Usyk, and this was one of the moments when I like really warmed to Oleksandr Usyk, because he did something that in terms of gym protocol was very sort of commendable. He hits Dave Allen with a shot in that sparring session, and Dave Allen's out. He's out on his feet. You hear him snore, right? When he hits him with the shot, it's that bad. Oleksandr Usyk says, no, we're not continuing. Dave Allen is saying, no, I want to continue, I want to go on. And Oleksandr Usyk literally like puts the guard up, goes on the back foot, he's tapping him really lightly. For me, that
he lets Dave Allen have his pride.
Yes.
He doesn't embarrass him.
Yeah.
He goes, you don't want to quit, so I'm going to let you hit me and I'm just going to go defensive so that you don't feel embarrassed about this. That shows like the level of empathy, class, just gentlemanly conduct from Usyk, that when I did his life story, I was like, this is a man here. This is a real respectable man who I can go, you're a true champion, mate.
Yeah.
And we'd be lucky to have him as the champ, to be honest with you. So
because you know what it is as well, when you look at that, right? Oleksandr Usyk, Dave Allen hasn't paid for his flight over there. Dave Allen isn't paying his expenses and probably, do you know what I mean? Like he is there working. If Oleksandr Usyk wanted to practice his finishing ability in that moment, he could have done, couldn't he? He very much could have done.
A lot of fighters would have done that. That's the truth, and that's where you look at Usyk and you think, fair enough, you're not just a gym bully type dude.
The reason why that is slightly relevant is because obviously we've never actually seen footage, as far as I know, of Tyson Fury sparring Dave Allen, but we know they've done a lot of rounds. We know they did a lot of rounds in Ricky Hatton's gym when Tyson Fury was coming back under Ben Davison. Dave Allen's picking Tyson Fury as the winner for this one. And a few bits and pieces I saw of him, he was fairly confident. Can we read anything into that, or is it just a case of everyone's got an opinion and maybe his might be a little bit better than some because he's spent rounds with them?
No, I think if you've been in there with both fighters and you pick Tyson, because I'm picking Usyk obviously, but if you pick Tyson, then it definitely adds weight to the argument because you've been in there with both of them. There is a possibility that he just matches up worse with Tyson than he does Usyk, for example, size-wise, whatever. But I think that matters for sure because, you know what, it was ahead of the Ngannou-AJ fight when I was all in love with Ngannou thinking, come on, son, this is the dream, it's an unbelievable fairy tale. There was one geezer who'd sparred them both and he went, AJ's going to run through him. And I was like, oh, I hope you're just wrong. And just like, I hope it doesn't happen like that. And that was exactly what happened. So I 100% take, I think you should take notice of that. Yeah.
When we look at both fighters, miles on the clock, because I think that the public perception is very much in favour of Tyson Fury as the fighter here with more miles on the clock. And ultimately, when we're looking back and I'm going, like we were talking yesterday, and it's like, mate, sometimes I'm saying stuff to you and I realise as I say it sounds a bit moronic because I was talking to you yesterday and I went, didn't like it when Beterbiev hit him with that body shot though, did he? And you went, Beterbiev? And I went, yeah, they boxed, didn't they, in the amateurs about 16 years ago. So it's like, it's literally like we are going that far back to see Usyk hurt. Whereas with Tyson Fury, what's he been dropped 6-7 times in his pro career so far? There's all the miles on the clock that you will accumulate from the gym. If ever you've had a fighter like a Tyson Fury that's pulled out of fights, you know that is something that's happened in the gym. When you look at the two, who would you say actually does have more miles on the clock? Because it actually surprises a lot of people. I know you all know this, and obviously I know this myself, but it always surprises people when you mention the fact that Oleksandr Usyk's the older man out of the two of these guys.
Older man, had way more boxing matches as well. Like Tyson Fury's amateur career was like 35 fights.
35, yeah.
Usyk's was 350. Say no more, really. And Usyk was mixing it with the best of the best consistently for years and years and years.
See, that's the level. That's the level as well. This is one thing I was looking at because amateur boxing is very hard. BoxRec will put amateur fights up, but they won't put all of them up. There will be fights that these guys have had that aren't on there. And when I was looking at it, right, Tyson Fury makes his amateur boxing debut in 2005. I think I knew one, well, David Price, but I think I knew one, maybe two names that Tyson Fury boxed. In 2005, when Tyson Fury was making his amateur boxing debut, Oleksandr Usyk's boxing Badu Jack in the amateurs. Yeah. And that's, I'm not saying Badu Jack's a well beater, but if you're mixing at that level,
I bet he was back then as well.
Yeah.
I bet he was, like, that would have been him really close to his prime, right? Like, and obviously went on to achieve big things, to be fair. Yeah, like, Beterbiev, he's beaten on the way to winning an Olympic gold medal. Look, in terms of miles, I think that's a great way of putting it because there's miles in the ring and then there's miles in the way you've treated your body and then there's miles in damage. So if you're talking about who's done more rounds in their life, Tyson Fury hasn't done as many as Usyk. But if we're talking about who's suffered more damage, I don't know what level of damage Deontay Wilder has left on Tyson Fury like that. Because Tyson Fury's chin really wasn't tested by Dillian Whyte or Chisora, but it was a little bit by Francis Ngannou, and he went down. Now, that may be that chin isn't quite as good as what it was, because I actually, now looking back at it, as heavy-handed as Ngannou is, despite the boxing world kind of turning their back on him, I don't know if that shot from Ngannou was really enough to put a prime Fury down, actually. And yeah, he was a little bit off balance, but still, there's a question there of what level of damage has he suffered? A fair bit, but we don't know if he's just going to keep recovering like the magical powers that he's always shown. And then thirdly, his diet and the way he's treated his body over the years has been like trash, right? Like, you know, he didn't have all of this back fat like, you know, 10 years ago or whatever, however long it was when he was fighting the Klitschko's and that. He was in good shape. So the interesting thing about the knees and the size of a big man, being a big man myself, I know, like, when you try and jog as a big man, the joint pain and the stress that you're putting on your body, it's not the same as what it will be for Usyk. And even then, Usyk's a big bloke himself. People look at him like he's like David and Goliath. They ain't David and Goliath. Usyk's a big guy, but it's a heavyweight versus a super heavyweight, isn't it? And all the miles that Fury has put his knees through now, from being 400 pounds to get down and then ballooning back up and living on fish and chips in Morecambe, I just feel like Usyk has led the cleaner life and taken less damage in the ring. So even though he's the older man, he should be the more preserved fighter.
Have you noticed the difference in attitude from Tyson Fury? Because obviously he was very dismissive of Oleksandr Usyk. Not even that long ago, we saw the press conference in Morecambe where he was saying about all the examples of big men that will beat little men. A good big un will beat a good little un. With the media I've seen over the last few days, Tyson Fury has almost gone 360 in a way that now it is very much a case of Oleksandr Usyk is the best fighter that I've faced.
You know Fury better than anyone I know. Why do you think that is?
So I personally believe, and people will shoot me down, I personally believe that Tyson Fury, in my opinion, has realised at this point now, words, even actions, nothing's really going to change what's happening. So I believe that now Tyson Fury is being slightly more honest with himself. The only caveat to that is I just find it... I often find or feel like I remember periods of time quite well once they're gone. And sometimes the narrative around what happens in the time that passes can change how we remember certain periods of time. But I remember the Klitschko era. And mate, for anyone to come along and beat one of the Klitschkos was a big, big deal and was a really hard task to do. And when you're thinking about that fight, bearing in mind, I get it, he had sparred Vladimir Klitschko. I just find it very hard to believe that Tyson Fury does think that Oleksandr Usyk is a tougher fight for him than he thought Vladimir Klitschko was all those years ago. But maybe that is the case. What do you make of it?
I find changes of behaviour interesting. So with Usyk, there is no change. It's like any other fight. But the key change is the way... So Fury, and I'm open to be corrected in the comments, let me know, but in my memory, Fury always belittles his opponents. It's what he does. He has fun with them. You're a dosser, I'm going to take you to school, yada, yada, yada. Always the same. This is the first time in my memory he's ever gone, best man I've ever fought him. And give him all these flowers the week of the fight. So it does make me think, not that Fury automatically loses the fight just because he's changing his behaviour, but it does make me feel like you're not as confident as you've ever been before. You're more aware, I could lose this one, than you've ever been before. And if you're feeling that way, then that tells me maybe you will, right? Like, it's just a natural feeling. I could be wrong, but that's just the way I'm picking it up.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I remember when you and Tyson Fury had a bit of back and forth, he was sort of telling you what a good fighter Derek Chisora is. And he was almost fighting a case for Derek Chisora. This feels very different. That feels like a job of convincing, whereas with this one, it's like, oh, the public know. They know how good Usyk is. So it doesn't feel like it's got that same thing of, oh, I'm building a fight up here.
Yeah, this is undisputed.
Let's get into the fight itself. Have you put out a final prediction for this fight yet?
I haven't. It's when is this going to be uploaded? Not next day or so?
Tomorrow, probably.
Tomorrow? Yeah, I'll be putting out tomorrow, so about the same time. So basically, my end lines are kind of along the lines of, they say a good big man beats a good little man. But in my opinion, it's a bit different than that. What I think we're gonna see is he moves well for a big man versus one of the best movers in the history of boxing at heavyweight ever. So I think that what people have been saying about Fury, about how he moves like a da-da-da-da, and he's this and he's that, and for a big guy, he's got all this light footwork. And I just think like we're going to, unless Usyk gets caught, which is entirely possible from a huge man like Fury, and then he could get hurt. But providing that doesn't happen, I just feel like Usyk's movement is going to be a completely different level to anything Fury has ever seen before, and anything Fury is capable of doing himself. And that will be the deciding factor, the movement of Usyk. And I think he'll just outland Fury. And actually, the interesting thing about could Usyk finish Fury, it feels hard to believe because I've never seen it before, but if that chin is a little damaged, if you do get dropped by Usyk, it's not going to be like where Francis Ngannou needed a long time to fill those big muscles back up with oxygen. It's not going to be like when all the other times Fury has been dropped. When I look through them throughout watching his life story, these big dudes, when they land a big punch with Fury, they're not finishers in the way that Usyk would be. Usyk's so efficient with his energy. I feel like Usyk could get him out there, but I would pick Usyk by decision.
It's funny because obviously the more notable knockdowns when we think about Tyson Fury is Steve Cunningham leaping in with a massive overhand right. Deontay Wilder when Fury rose from the death in that fight. But actually, some of the knockdowns have been a little more innocuous almost, like definitely, as you were saying, the Francis Ngannou one, it's the sort of shot that
you don't see coming.
Yeah, and I don't think until we saw Tyson Fury go down from it, we were thinking, oh, that's a shot that's going to put him down. He had landed that left hook before.
You just didn't see it coming, and that's where I think, and look, obviously you don't see them, but sometimes you do, right? And they're just too powerful. But I feel like with Usyk, his angles and the fact that he throws so many different punches, a lot of them are going to get through, I think. And that could be the thing. I might not be confident in stopping Fury. I think Usyk will drop Fury.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree that in this fight, I think there's a very high chance that both men go down, and I do truly believe that. What I also think is
that'll be sick, by the way.
Yeah,
like I'm rooting for Usyk, but that'll be fucking epic if both of them go down, man. I love that.
I think also you see some of the knockdowns of Tyson Fury really just came from accumulation of punches. So say for example, the first knockdown in the first Wilder fight, I'm not saying a big shot didn't land, but it was almost like an accumulation of punches. He goes, one of the knockdowns in the Wilder trilogy match, again, is like a bit of an accumulation of punches. Fury's coming forward and Wilder's still just cuffing him with shots and he ends up going down. If you're susceptible with someone that's throwing punches in bunches, believe me, Oleksandr Usyk will do that. I personally look at this fight and I think that we're going to get a bit of a twitching fest and a fainting fest for the first 3 rounds. I don't think in the first 3 rounds, it took about 2 minutes or so into the first round when Oleksandr Usyk found a rhythm against Anthony Joshua. And from that point, that rhythm could not be broken. I think it takes a lot longer for Oleksandr Usyk to find a rhythm against Tyson Fury. I think we see something fairly cagey for 3 rounds or so where both men are trying to box, because I don't truly believe that Tyson Fury's consigned himself in his mind to thinking, I can't outbox this guy. I think he thinks that there's a chance, and I think ultimately he's going to go in there, see how he gets on for the first 3 rounds or so before he makes a decision. At that point, and listen, this is just how I play the fight in my head, completely hypothetical. At that point, that's when I think Tyson Fury starts to push the pace a lot more, starts to try and walk Oleksandr Usyk down a lot more. And I think that maybe he had some...
So from round 4 onwards, sort of.
Yeah, from round 4 onwards,
I think he has to. You need to get into him quickly. I only say that because when I looked at all the numbers of punches thrown on this boxing science channel and looking on CompuBox as well, Usyk was throwing 50 punches rounds 1, 2 and 3 against AJ. That's a lot of punches at heavyweight, where Fury's averaging about 30 punches thrown, AJ's are averaging about 30 punches thrown in those fights. Usyk throws a lot. And what that does is, even if you connect evenly, which Fury's actually a really accurate puncher for the big long arms of him, he's really good with accuracy. When judges are saying, oh, he's throwing double the punches or nearly double the punches, you do get the rounds given to you through the pressure. And I feel like winning a decision against Oleksandr Usyk is one of the hardest things to do in boxing. I think hurting him because you're the bigger man is easier than that. I could be wrong, but I just feel like I give Fury the advantage in winning a decision against most boxers, except someone like Usyk, who's going to be faster than him, has a higher output than him, better stamina than him. And when we looked at the boxing science numbers in the last 3 rounds, 10, 11 and 12, Fury's punches dwindle and Usyk's punches go through the roof. And I feel like if you haven't got him out of there before round 10, it becomes highly unlikely that you win the fight. So I feel like when we watched Fury go after Cunningham the way he did, as a Usyk fan, if Fury starts doing that, I'm scared. Because that's when I'm like, oh shit, you really got a good chance with this sort of style, because it's wild, it's unpredictable. And as much as Chisora did that, he doesn't have the reach of Tyson Fury. Fury's reach is scary. It's 85 or something crazy like that. Usyk dealt with AJ's reach. Fury's reach is about 5 inches longer than AJ's or something. It's really ridiculously long. So the reach is what could help him just with them go gadget arms land a big shot.
I think also the way that Fury will use his reach, like, especially if I can, regardless of Anthony Joshua, if I compare it to Derek Chisora, right? There's a punch that Derek Chisora doesn't land, and that's a jab. Derek Chisora does not have, I'm sorry, I'm calling it for what it is. He does not have a jab. He doesn't land a jab, right? Tyson Fury does have a jab. And the ability to clinch and to be able to tie your man up can heavily rely upon landing the jab. Everything, you know, they say about the right hand coming off the jab. Well, if you're looking for a bit of a clinch fest and that can often come off the jab, because that's the moment you're able to tie your man up a lot of the time. So when I look at that, I think that Tyson Fury could have more success with that. Another thing I draw a little bit of confidence for Tyson Fury would be Oleksandr Usyk, barring the Daniel Dubois fight, and I will prerequisite this by saying we shouldn't bar it that much because that was his last fight. Barring the Daniel Dubois fight, Oleksandr Usyk has shown me in his career, not only at heavyweight but also at cruiserweight, a little bit of reluctancy to commit. Right? And when I look at, again, like me and you were looking at the records of both guys and we were thinking, who's maybe the most similar? The answer is there's no one. Neither guy have boxed anyone similar to the other guy, right? But when I look at Tyson Fury against guys that aren't fully confident in committing against him, the fight that always comes to mind for me is the Klitschko fight. And you see that when Klitschko did not want to commit against Tyson Fury, it's probably why he didn't put that much of a dent in him. I think there was one shot in maybe the later rounds where Klitschko catches Tyson Fury and it looks like he's hurt him a little bit. But apart from that, didn't really manage to do that. Now, when I look at Oleksandr Usyk, I think that despite there's the chance of Tyson Fury walking himself onto one, I do truly believe that if you're going to put that sort of dent in Tyson Fury to be able to drop him or to hurt him, you probably do need to commit and hold your feet of a few more shots. So it'd be interesting to see whether we think that Oleksandr Usyk has the confidence, I would say, to be able to do that.
I think it's like cooking something in it. I think he's going to be patient, Usyk. I think he's going to let the accumulative shots mount up and hope that Fury, his gas tank, and look, let's be real, at 265 pounds, your gas tank cannot be as good as Usyk's. It's physiologically impossible for them to have be able to put the same level of output. And I'm really interested to see how Fury handles someone throwing 50 punches around at him. Because this will be, in my opinion, the most times in a fight Tyson Fury's chin has been hit. This is the most. It will not be like I don't think it'll be like Klitschko in that Klitschko didn't connect enough and it took him too long to get. If anything, what we found out in the AJ Usyk fight, especially the first one, Oleksandr Usyk is one of the best fighters in the world from what I see in that fight. Measuring the distance quickly. He got that distance within 2 rounds. He had it off for the fucking rest of the fight. Never lost it again in the second fight. So, and it's different because Fury is harder. I think he's not going to be as like there as AJ is. You know, he's a bit more predictable than Fury for sure. But it's like, I think Fury has to go for the kill, quickly, mate. I don't, because the earlier in the fight, the more energy and therefore the more power Fury's shots are going to have to them. And that's when he's going to be at his most dangerous. The more you let these rounds go on, the more you're playing the game of boxing the boxer. And you've got to fight him. And all right, you could let the rounds go on if you're getting ahead of him. If you're getting a hold of him and your game plan is working, then I think Fury can ride that all day. Providing he can get a hold of Usyk and then lean on him and do all of that. But if he's not and they're boxing away, I think he needs to land early.
You say that you believe that this will be the fight that Tyson Fury's chin gets hit the most. A lot has been made, of Oleksandr Usyk's lack of resistance to the body.
Yeah.
It's going to be the most that Tyson Fury's body has been hit in this fight. Because you know that Oleksandr Usyk is going to be stabbing that body at every opportunity. And let's be honest, it's going to be a much bigger target and an easier target to get to
right there,
than the head. That's it. One thing I can't see happening is the rematch of Oleksandr Usyk and Anthony Joshua was a little bit closer. I sort of, after round 9, I was thinking, okay, Oleksandr Usyk might only be 2 rounds ahead here after round 9, and then did a clean sweep for the last rounds, and that's what put it in his favour.
Yeah.
Now,
round 10, he threw 65 punches in round 10 or something.
Yeah.
That I don't know if there's a heavyweight ever done that before in a round 10 ever. Like, it's fucking mad that.
So when you look at that, right, and especially in the first fight of Anthony Joshua, by round 10, we knew what was happening. Anthony Joshua's best chance was scoring a knockout punch on him, and it didn't look like that punch was
He's
coming.
knockout power gone by then. That's why I'm saying you got to go early.
And in that fight, I would say that my personal perception, I don't want this to come across in the wrong way, was that Anthony Joshua was fairly submissive by that point. I think that Anthony Joshua knew at that point, let's try next time because I've got a rematch clause in there. This is something I don't think can happen in the Tyson Fury fight. Regardless of Fury having a rematch clause in there, I think if we were to be looking at that fight in round 10 and Tyson Fury's down on the scorecards, I think he throws absolutely everything at Oleksandr Usyk, and I think that he has no hesitancy in risking getting knocked out himself. I agree. I fully agree. In this fight, I agree. Someone may be watching and go, well, he didn't really do that against Ngannou, but I feel like that was an exhibition. I feel like he knew he jabbed him enough to probably win enough rounds. He felt he was winning.
But exactly. And I think that's why. Against Usyk, though, if he's like, I'm losing this, of all the fighters in the world, you got to put Fury right up there in the last ditch effort, category. So where Usyk against AJ may have felt in control for those last 3 rounds, I think if he does feel like he's taken over, you can never switch off, because I do expect Fury to be coming at him like a madman, which is kind of part of the reason why I've actually thought he may stop Fury, because Fury, unlike AJ, I feel will commit more, will risk more. And the reason AJ didn't beat Usyk, aside from the skill gap, is you have to risk it. You have to know, like the Batman movie where he jumps without the rope and he finally makes it the other end. You've got to know, I might fucking die trying. But if you're going to go in there against an expert boxer who wins decisions like this routinely, you need to be willing to get knocked out in order to knock him out. Otherwise, I don't see it happening. But I do believe Fury will go for the kill, for sure.
The old saying in boxing of a good big man beats a good little man. I think the main thing that we need to wait until Saturday night to find out is this a good big man against a good little man? Because what this could well be is an elite little man against a good big man. And we saw even this past weekend, Kambosos against Lomachenko. That there was a case of a good big man in terms of their weights against an elite little man. And we've seen Lomachenko do this quite a few times, We've seen him do it against Luke Campbell, who towered over him, against many other fighters, Anthony Crolla. An elite little man can beat a good big man, and that's the question that we're going to get. And we're going to find out the answer to whether Usyk is elite and whether Tyson Fury is elite. And then I think we're going to have a lot more answers to our questions come Saturday night. We're going to be live for this on Saturday night.
We are, and on that, I that's what I think it is right now. But
an elite little man against like a good big man.
Yeah, I feel like Usyk is elite, and Fury is like a great generational heavyweight. But when we look back at their careers, I feel like we'll put Usyk in the Hall of Famers and some of the best ever. And I feel like Fury will go, yeah, he was up there. He was one of the best of his generation, but I just don't think he'll be quite as good. But mate, I'm looking forward to your prediction. I'll watch your prediction as well before the fight comes out. And I'm looking forward to the fight night, mate. We are going to be hammered on the Pain Game.
Oh, mate, I'm buzzing for it. And the thing is as well, this is the beauty of it as well, man. From the second we start that stream, there's going to be fireworks, because the undercard for this event is absolutely ridiculous. You've got unification fights on there. You've got big heavyweight dust-ups. You've got such a good undercard for this one. You've even got returning legends of the game like Sergei Kovalev. I don't know how competitive that fight's going to be, but I can't wait to watch this one. So Saturday night, live on the Pain Game, we will be doing the watch-along for this fight. Join us.
One of us will be crying.
One of us. Listen, 16-1 for the draw. I'm going to put it out there now.
Not a bad bet,
I think that could be worth sticking a 20 quid bet on or something like that. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you once again, mate, for coming over to the channel and giving us a very good video for the fans to watch. I will see you all in the next one.